Welcome back to my three-part series with Tim Harris. For those of you who missed part one, make sure you go back and watch it. In this video, I sat down with Tim Harris for nearly an hour. For those of you who don't know, he and his wife Julie sold over 100 homes. That's right, over 100 homes. Their first year in real estate, over 30 years ago. They've been coaching daily real estate agent podcast. In this interview, we go over how I've built a team that has sold as many as over 1,000 homes in a year. So you don't want to miss out. And by the way, you don't want to miss out on any videos I put out on this channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button.
I was waiting for you to drink coffee before I asked you a question to make it awkward, by the way.
I think your numbers are pretty spot on. And yeah, I was at like 75%, 80% profit margin when I was a solo agent. When I had a small team, it got down into the 50s. When the team grew, it went down a little more. And yeah, so I think most big teams end up in the double-digit percentages, but it's better than the brick and mortar broker margins, right? Those are like single-digit margins, low single-digit margins. So those are all really good points to think about when you're ultimately designing how you want to structure your real estate career.
Well, not just your real estate career for sure, but also your financial future, right? You're a pathway to creating financial independence. I really want to ask a question about lead generation because I know everyone's frothing at the mouth to know how your lead generation funnels work. That's agents always want to know about leads. So let's do that. Let's talk about your lead generation. And so here's the question, and then I'm going to ask you a second question. So if you were coaching an agent right now who's Dan Lesnick, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, and this agent were to ask you, what are the 2 or 3 primary sources of lead generation that I should focus on? I don't have a lot of money. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I don't have a lot of time for something to work. What should I be doing? And secondarily, then, I want to talk to you about your pathway from massive producer single agent to small team to huge team to independent broker and now to what you're doing. So, and go for it.
Sure. No, I wrote in my book, I think the best way to approach, starting off or adding new business is to go through a process that I call segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So I think you need to look at your overall market, break it up into segments, pick your target segment, which I tell people, don't make it too big, right? That's, you don't want to try to go market to 10,000 homes when you're starting out. Define it more narrow. You can't be too small, but I've rarely met an agent that struggles with that. There has to be enough business there that if you became the top 1, 2, or 3 agents in that segment, it would give you a good income. And then positioning, how do you position yourself to that group of people that will add the most value? Now that a lot of people immediately go to geographic on that, which is natural and certainly can be done that way. You pick 1,000 homes that you're going to really dominate, right? Or 2,000 homes, but it can also be a prospecting technique, right? Like you can become the master of the FSBO market or the expired and withdrawn market. So if I were a new agent starting out, I would either pick a group of 1,000 homes that, I'm going to do door knocking, phone calling, direct mail, try to get emails, do email newsletter, or I would do a FSBO expired strategy. I think in particular in the next 12 to 24 months, I was actually just talking about this on my podcast with Tarek Al Musa. I think expireds are going to increase because sellers are probably used to the pricing from 3 to 6 months ago, and they're going to be stubborn about it at first. And it might take a listing or two to or agent or two that fails to get there, right? We've all heard the saying, or maybe some people haven't. In life, you want to be the firstborn son, second wife, or third real estate agent, right? So, if you're the third real estate agent to get that listing, chances are by that time they are going to be willing to sell it at a price that it will sell. So I think right now, that's something that people may have may have gotten away from in the last 2 years. There weren't a ton of expireds, right, in 2020 and 21. So maybe those are coming back. So I would pick, either a small, tightly defined geographic area, or expireds or withdrawns. And also don't forget about your SOI, right? Even when you're new, start telling, friends, family, past colleagues, people, like don't be the secret real estate agent.
I absolutely adore what you just said, because first thing, centers of influence and past clients. So you have proactive and you have passive marketing, right? And I love what you were drilling down on expireds. Could not agree more. This is probably in the last, since say 2008, this is going to be the best opportunity for expired hunting that there's ever been, for sure, for all the reasons you just said. And then if agents were to focus on becoming an expired hunter, right? Learn how to proactively lead generate, pre-qualify, present, negotiate, and lead follow-up, and focusing your best energies on going after expired listings, 100%. And number two, I love what you said about centers of influence and past clients. Those two things, take your time, do take some skill that you can learn on the job, but they don't cost you any money. And absolutely, positively, 100% agree. So Dan, you guys have been successful and ultra successful, I would say, in the industry. You guys were with Keller Williams, KERI was with RE/MAX, you were with a different broker. You guys had obviously an enormous, very successful real estate team. You guys are in multiple states. You do apartment syndication, you do all the other things. You've been independent for a long time. You made a really big change in your business recently. What was that, and why did you do it?
Yeah, so I decided to move to eXp Realty. Thanks to you. I wish you told me about it earlier, by the way. I always kind of tell people about that. But the reason is, eXp is the first brokerage at scale to eliminate the expenses, the cost, and frankly, like the lack of innovation at what I call the big box brick and mortar brokerage model. So they've eliminated that expensive layer and replaced it with this virtual system. They were virtual before virtual became a thing. They were founded by someone who sold tens and tens of millions of dollars of real estate. That's kind of rare. Like there's a lot of founders right now that never sold a home. So, how can the company be designed for agents if that's, not the case? Like I don't understand that. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I don't understand that. I love the fact that they are agent owned, right? There's a ton of brokers out there that claim to be agent centric. eXp is agent owned. I think it's 70% of the company is owned by the agents or the founders. Most of these big companies are owned 10% or less by the founders and the agents. So what does that mean? You may think that's not a big deal. Well, I think it is a big deal. I think if 90% of the companies owned by Wall Street or foreign investors, like they don't have the agent's best interest in heart. It's profit, right? Profit minded. So I don't think you can be agent centric unless you're agent owned. eXp is the first company that has been agent owned at this scale that I've ever heard of. And lastly, there's a huge opportunity to participate in something called revenue share. I think it's really cool that eXp was founded from the beginning with the discipline and commitment to operate. I think it's approximately half of the revenue, right? So what do they do with the other half of that revenue, or approximately that? Yeah. They give that back to the agents that grow it, right? Most brokerages, if you recruit another agent, maybe they give you a little bit off your cap that year, or a few $1,000s or something, maybe, right? That's like the best case scenario. Well, at eXp, they reward you with ongoing revenue share, right? Depending on how many agents you bring on and how many they bring on. And I've done a ton of different businesses outside of just selling real estate, like joint ventures, developments, syndications, long-term rentals. I've got a bunch of short-term rentals. And I love the income that comes from that, but it doesn't come without headache. It doesn't come without putting in massive amounts of capital, time, liability, risk. I know you own a bunch of rental homes, and after looking at that, doing that, studying people at EXP, studying all different broker models, by the way, this is not a decision I took lightly. I don't think there's a greater passive income opportunity for the people that want to participate in it, which naturally can occur in your normal course of business of selling homes. I don't think there's a greater passive income opportunity in the history of real estate. And I think that's why this company has grown at the fastest pace in real estate history compared to any other brokerage ever. So
it's just getting started. Yeah, it's just getting started. EXP is in 22 different countries, and it is really truly. This is what I say, and this is really encapsulates it, at least for me. This is for many of us. I'm 52, and you're not 50. You're 10 years younger than me, basically. But for many of us, this is the last best business opportunity of our lifetimes. Now, I didn't say last business opportunity, because there'll be lots of those. Those always are coming at you. But the last best business opportunity. Because if you look at Mr. MBA, you'll remember this better than me. The product adoption cycle, early adopters and then laggards and all the rest of it. If you look to see where EXP is in its growth curve, because I hear sometimes people saying, well, EXP, it's the best time to join is 3 years ago or 5 years ago. Well, maybe that was a great time to join because you would have had the benefit. But the fact is if you look at EXP's growth curve, it's just getting started. Across the country and really across the world, so many, you said it too, agent-centric, that's so funny. Everyone says agent-centric because they offer you marketing in your office, or they're going to have a barbecue on Saturday during the football game or whatever in the parking lot for the agents. That's okay, that's nice. Agent-centric is where you put your money where your mouth is. You got revenue share. You've got obviously lots of ability to get stock awards, buy stock at a discount. You get health insurance. You get all these other different programs. There's an incredible relocation department that's about to open up. There's luxury that's about to open up. And the thing that's really fascinating to me is that so many massive agents like you and KERI are moving over to EXP. And it's not just agents and teams and brokers, but it's big brokerages as well. There's a lot of people whose franchise agreements are coming to an end, and they maybe were thinking that, well, I have to suffer having only 2 or 3% margins for my brokerage. You can actually do what you're doing, do what you love doing. Maybe there's aspects of your brokerage that you really love. You love working with the agents. You love mentoring agents. You love coaching agents. But the financial side of it is a little bewildering. And sometimes what people do is they get locked into this belief that it is what it is, I can't do anything about it. Well, what if you could just take what you love the most about being a team leader, or being a coach, or owning a brokerage? Take what you love most and set the other things aside. And so when you're hearing from somebody like Dan and KERI, you've got to realize these guys have been up and down many mountains, not just one, and they're making the decision to move over to EXP. And Dan, you're a spreadsheet guy. I mean, you were trained to be a spreadsheet guy at Georgetown. So when you were doing the math on this, can you kind of get into the weeds a little bit and explain to the listeners? Like you even compared EXP. Let's not mention the other brokerages that you're comparing it against. But why, from a financial perspective, from an analytical perspective, right? Can you walk people through how financially this made more sense than being independent?
Well, I think, one kind of objection that, maybe or misconception, if call it, that I previously had is that this is a recruiting company, right? Like they don't do sales, they just do recruiting. And I think it's important to address this, right? Less than 20% or less than 25% actually participate in the revenue share, right? So there's a lot of people out there that are, so what does that mean, right? That means like out of 80,000 agents, 60,000 or so are just there because it's a better brokerage model, right? Because it's saving them money. So, when I look at I've had several conversations the last few weeks with new agents, high producing agents, teams. And when I look at the numbers, like new agents are typically saving $20,000, $30,000, right? On the same amount of volume that they would do. Like we just talked to a high producer before the show that would probably save $150,000 a year. Right?
It was $150,000 in just the first 9 months of this year. So for the whole year, right, she'll probably save, being at EXP, put in her pocket around $200,000 extra.
Yeah, and then you look at, right, and that's like even if you never recruit anyone else, which like if you're doing that kind of business, it naturally will happen. People are going to be like, oh, well, if this person's there, I want to do it. Right. So, but even if that doesn't happen, you compound a 6-figure amount of money every year. It's millions of dollars if you have a 20-year career over the course of your, career. So there's a tremendous financial opportunity, financial savings. And yes, even independent brokerages, like, you no longer have to have the brick and mortar office. You no longer have to hire a broker. You get E&O taken care of. Here's the big savings. Like if you don't have to insert yourself into the legal contract and broker questions, how much more money are you going to save? Because now those efforts are diverted into the highest, dollar productivity hours, right? Which is recruiting people for your team and generating leads. If you can focus on that, let EXP take care of, the operating system, if you will, the broker questions, the liability, the E&O, basically like keeping the lights on, right? If EXP does that and you're focused on generating sales and generating people to handle sales, how much more money are you going to make? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed part 2 with Tim Harris. Make sure you stick around for part 3. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be a part of my rapidly growing global real estate organization, send me a text message at 703-638-4393. When you join my organization, you get to run your business the way you want. You get to do your own branding, own marketing, lead gen. You're in complete control. You just get to plug into things that I've done to be empowered to grow it more. So you get access to the coaching programs I've developed. You get access to Tim Harris coaching programs and a whole lot more. We're going to empower you to scale a team, build multiple streams of revenue. If you want to get in on this, text me at 703-638-4393. Stick around for part 3.